If you're a coach or course creator, you'll know that one of the hardest things is what to teach and how to teach it. And so today, I want to take you through some of the things that have helped me create courses, be able to teach on stage, do online trainings, and actually write a book. And the secret is models and frameworks. This is something that I learned after reading Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets, and he actually structures his whole book as a model and a framework, steps that we can go through and repeat. And after reading the book, my mind shifted. That's how I started to look at the world. Okay, I have something that I want to teach or I want to train someone on. What are the steps that I take someone through? What's the frame of reference that I can, or the package that I can create for something? And so as I then created core pieces of the work that I do, so initially it was managing screen time and online safety and supporting parents, I use this thought of models and frameworks to come up with some of the things that are included in my first book and in the training that I do. And the easiest way to think of a model or framework is exactly the steps that you will take someone through. So if you're a coach or you're a course creator, chances are you've got an idea, you may have a loose idea in your head of, okay, here's where somebody's starting, here's where I want to get them to, what do they have to do, or what do I have to support them with to get them to that outcome? Which means there's probably going to be some steps that you will take them through. And that you can use as the basis for creating your model or your framework. And if you can create that, it also means you can take it anywhere. You can shrink it and do it in less time. You can expand it and go into more detail. But it gives you a package effectively that you can put in your pocket and say, oh, I'm in a situation. Somebody's asked me to teach them about this or train them on a particular topic. Great, okay, here's my model and my framework. I can pull it out of my pocket. Here it is. I know the steps I'm going to take somebody through. I know what I'm going to talk about at each step. Or I know that there's a model and a framework, and here are the key parts of it. So it may not be a sequential step 1, step 2, step 3. It may be, here are 5 key things, okay? I know what those 5 are. I know the order that they're going to be in. I can teach that. I can train somebody on that. I can give them that knowledge and guidance. And it's certainly something that has helped me. I mentioned my first book. This whole process of thinking about models and frameworks, you can see it throughout the first book, and even more so in the second book. So the first book, Watch Us Play, I mentioned it was for managing screen time and online safety and improving math skills with video games. So the first thing that I created was the Parrot framework, which is 8 parts of how you can look at a video game, identify key features, and then use those and turn them into maths questions so that they are relevant to a child who plays that particular game. So, Parrot is Parrot, and it's, right, P relates to something, A relates to something, R relates to something, R relates to something, and so each of them relates to a specific feature or piece of functionality inside a game. And that was a framework that I created, and so that became part of the book, and it's something that I then teach on. So I teach that to teachers and parents and say, look, if you want to support your child with improving their math skills, here's a way to do it. Here's a way you can create your own maths resources. And then as I started having conversations with parents, they were like, that's great, but I have this challenge with managing screen time. So I went and interviewed parents and child psychologists and got their information, and then created a framework of, here are 4 things you can try to build that relationship and understand what your child is doing. Okay, so there's a framework of, here are the 4 things I can take people through. I created the Watch, Ask, Play method, which is 3 steps for understanding the games that your kids are playing. So that shift for me enabled me to start creating these models and frameworks and also package them so I can go into any situation and say, yes, you're struggling with this. Okay, here's a model or a framework that I use, and I'm going to take you through it, and there are these many steps or there are these parts to it. But it also means that if I do an online training or I get up on stage or I'm doing a workshop somewhere and somebody asks me a question, that's fine, because I don't necessarily get fully derailed. Obviously I'll have to answer the question, or I'll be like, you know what, let's take questions at the end. I want to go through this first so you've got the full picture. But if I have a model or I have a framework and a structure, it means that I can dip in and out of that. So if somebody asks a question, it's like, yeah, okay, let's answer that question. Right, let's come back. Where was I? I was here. Okay, so the next bit is this. Right, now I can focus on that. So creating these models and frameworks enables us to be able to dip in and out, enables us to have that back and forth with the audience and answer some questions and still know where we're going to next. And it also means that we can replicate it in different ways. So I mentioned I created the models and frameworks for my first book. Those then became key components of the video version. So I could create, okay, well, hang on, there's 3 parts to this. Okay, so maybe that's 3 videos, and I sliced it down and I'm like, okay, so here's the first bit, here's the second bit, here's the third bit. And I did the same thing for my most recent book. So Finally Find Freedom is the 12 chains model. So that is 12 chains that hold us back in life. That is a framework. That's something I can always refer to because I know what those 12 chains are and I can talk people through them. And then I added in the types of chains, or the levels of chains, of which there are 3. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3. And I know there are 4 chains at level 1, in which those are 4 chains at level 2 and 4 chains at level 3. So again, there's a framework there that I can say, you know what? I can see where you are, I can see what you're struggling with. These are the chains at level 1. Okay, so let's focus on those. What are those 4 chains and how do we break them? In my book, it's 4 steps to break a chain. Again, there's a process there, there's a structure. So it becomes a lot easier for me to say, okay, right, yeah, I understand your situation, or we're doing this, or I'm speaking on stage to this type of audience. Okay, what are some of the things that I'm going to present? How am I going to do it? What is that structure and flow? And it becomes so much easier. So rather than me going in and going, I have no idea what I'm going to teach or what I'm going to train on, I already have all those things in my back pocket because I've created the models, the frameworks, the structures, the flow, and the full book. So, okay, yes, there's the 12 chains in there, and I've got the 4 steps for breaking a chain, but there's also an overarching framework. It is pretty much the Chains to Champion framework. And it's, okay, create the vision. That's the first part of the book. Then it's the 12 chains and uncovering them. And then it's the 4 steps for breaking. That's part 3. So again, there's a structure there that I take people through in the book. And I've replicated that for the Chain to Champion program. So a lot of the work that I now do and the thinking that I do about, okay, how am I going to support an audience? What is it that I can do? A lot of it comes down to, what's the process? What's the flow that I take someone through? Where's the beginning? Where's the end? How am I going to support them getting to that end point? And then I'll look at, okay, are there steps that they need? Is it a model or a framework and a sort of a package that I can say, okay, here are 5 productivity tips, or here are 5 ways for time management. Here are 5 ways for creating an online business. Here are 6 ways for, or 7 ways, or here are the. It's all about thinking in that way to say, how can I make this easier for someone to digest? We've probably all seen the article titles of the 3 best ways to, or 5 tips for getting the best tan in summer, or 3 ways to lose 10 pounds in 60 days. All of these things, they're building on that because it's easier for us to process and go, step 1, okay, right, I understand what that is, yeah. Step 2, okay, right, I can write that down, yeah, that makes sense. It becomes easier for us to process and take it in. And if you are that coach or that course creator, it makes it easier for you to present it as well. So it's not just about your audience, it's also for you. It's making your life easier because you know, this is what I'm going through. These are the steps, this is the framework, this is the model, this is the flow, this is what it is that I am going to focus on, what I'm going to teach, what I'm going to train, what I'm going to support people with. And there's a new one that I'm in the process of starting to test. Again, I came across it watching a video. And it's the models and frameworks that I mentioned there, gave a couple of examples, are things that I've created based on what it is that I want to teach. So 4 steps for breaking a chain, 12 chains model, watch, ask, play for understanding video games kids are playing. Okay, those are some of the models and frameworks that I've created. This one that I found the other day is for actually teaching. And it's a 4-part, so there you go. It is a model framework in itself. And you pretty much go in a cycle. So the first one is you're going to teach, and then your audience is going to type some stuff or write some stuff down, thinking about what it is. So you may have an exercise there, thinking about what it is that you've just delivered to them. So if you're doing this in a live environment, it may be, okay, here's some slides, I'm going to talk you through it. Okay, now go and write, think about it, notes. Okay, I'm going to put 2 minutes on the screen, go and think about it, write it down or type it if you're doing an online challenge. Then you come back and the third step will be talk about it. What did you write down? Why did you write that? Who else wrote that? What did you write differently? So sometimes it works better in a group setting, but you can still do it on a one-to-one. And then the final step is train. So you can pretty much take it in a circle. That 4th step is train, and it's almost a recap of the key things, key learnings, key points from that segment. So you can use this as a circle and just go around and say, okay, here's the first thing. Okay, right, we're going to go through this. I'm going to teach you about it. You're going to write about it. We're going to talk about it, and then I'm going to recap it. Okay, right, that's the first thing. And then here's the second thing. I'm going to go through the same process, and I'm going to teach you about it. You're going to write about it. We're going to talk about it, and then I'm going to recap and train. Okay, we've covered off that one. And so you can go through and take that model, and that's something that I'm introducing myself. So when I do seminar sessions, that's exactly the structure that I'm going to take, because the Chain to Champion program and my book, they've got exercises in there. There's activities for people to do. So this looks like a natural fit to say, well, I can teach you about a chain, and then I want you to do the exercise and write about it, and then we're going to talk about it, what you uncovered, what other people have uncovered, similarities, differences, things you may not have thought of, how does that impact you, and then recap and summary, and then we can move on to the next chain. So this is another way that we can think about teaching and training. So yes, we can have our models and our frameworks, and I can take those 12 chains that I've got, my core framework there, and then split it down, and for each chain I can do this 4-step teaching and training method, take people through it, and then move on to the next chain, take people through it, move on to the next chain. So it's just a different way of thinking about everything that we're doing. It's a different way of delivering it. So I could go through 1,000,000 miles an hour and go through everything, all of the 12 chains, and then do the exercises. But the risk for that is somebody forgets what the first chain was, the second chain was, the importance of it. So if I can break it down into smaller bits, take them through this sort of circular process of teach, type or write, talk about it, and then train it or do that recap and summary, it makes it easier for it to stick in their mind. So there's some tools, techniques that you can use there for your own course creation process, your own coaching, whether you do it online, whether you do it live and in person at an event, or it's a workshop or a seminar. Think about how you can create models and frameworks for all of the material that you focus on. Chances are you already have some stuff that you go through and you're like, first I need somebody to do this, and then I need them to do this, and I need them to do this. But you've not, I guess, formulated it or put it into a set structure where it's like, okay, right, I know that these are the 3 or 4 or 5 steps, or these are the key parts of the process. If you can do that and you can package it in a way, it gives you the opportunity to give it a fancy name, like I have with some of mine, and then I can reference those to people and say, just go and check this out. There's a video, or there's an episode, or I've written about it, and it's it's here. it's the 4 steps for, it's the 6, or there's 12 chains, or it's something else. It becomes easy to refer to them, and then people within your audience start to go, yeah, I know what he's talking about here. Okay, great, yes, he's referencing this. I've read about it, or I've seen it, or I've heard it. Okay, I can go back into that and look at a bit more detail. So those models and frameworks can be really valuable for you as a tool set, and then it's okay, what is the delivery mechanism for you? Online, offline, doing that circular teaching and training, chunking it down, running all the way through one of your models or frameworks, that's up to you. But if you can start to think about models and frameworks as a way of making it easier for you to teach and train and your audience to consume, it puts you in a much better position to grow your business, to have more impact and see more success. Hey, Philip here. Just wanted to jump in quickly and say, if you've enjoyed this video or you've listened to it and you want more, I invite you to come and join my community. Join the mailing list. I send out daily emails, thoughts about life and transformation and building online businesses and building audiences and all that sort of good stuff. Some of it based on the work that I'm doing myself in my own business and in my own life. So if you want to join that, jump over to my website. There is a link in the description, and then you'll be able to get those daily emails, thoughts, opinions, links to some useful content, and you'll be welcomed as a member of my community. I look forward to seeing you on the list and getting to know you better.